You don't talk about it, but you feel it, burning quietly inside you. Late at night, under the sheets, when the world goes still, it wakes up. A deep hunger. A low, restless pulse. Lust. And the moment it arrives, you're split in two. One part of you wants to chase it, to surrender, to collapse into it. The other part is disgusted by it. You shut the screen. You delete the app. You swear it'll be the last time. But it never is. And that's because no one ever told you the truth. Lust is not your enemy. Lust is not weakness. Lust is power. Not the kind of power that dominates or controls, but the kind that creates. You were born with it. A life force more ancient than your body. A fire in your loins, in your heart, in your soul. They taught you to fear it, to hide it, to burn in shame for feeling it. And now it haunts you in silence. It rules you from the shadows. You see it in every scroll, every image, every fantasy you can't control. But what if you could stop running from it? What if the very energy you waste in secret could be the fuel for your highest self? Because deep within your lust is the blueprint of your becoming. Beneath every desire is a mirror, a message, a map. You don't need to escape your lust. You need to alchemize it. This is not a motivational speech. It's not a lecture on celibacy. And it's not another shallow video about semen retention hacks. This is an initiation into the lost art of sexual transmutation, into the forbidden depths of shadow work, into the sacred fire of spiritual awakening. Because you are not meant to be numb. You are not meant to chase pixelated pleasure for 30 seconds of relief. You are not meant to surrender your kingdom to dopamine. You are meant to master this energy. To sit in the fire and not flinch. To turn desire into vision. To turn lust into light. So before we begin, I'll ask you something you've never asked yourself. What if everything you've ever wanted is hidden inside the lust you fear? What if the monster under your bed is actually your teacher? What if, just maybe, your lust is not trying to destroy you, but awaken you? You were born with fire, but you live in a world made of plastic. Your soul aches for connection, but all you're fed is friction. Swipe. Like. Swipe. Click. It's all designed to make you want, but never feel. To crave, but never touch the truth. Every scroll is an invitation to sedate yourself. To trade your vitality for a hit of dopamine. To replace your sacred life force with a 10-second orgasm in the dark. They don't want you powerful. They want you numb. You think it's just a habit. Something you can stop whenever you want. But deep down, you know the truth. You've become a slave. Not to sex. To your avoidance of yourself. You're not addicted to pleasure. You're addicted to escaping your own potential. Because in that moment, right before you cave, you feel it. That tension. That unbearable force in your gut, your spine, your breath. It's not lust. It's your power trying to rise. But you were never taught how to hold it. Only how to waste it. In this society, the easiest way to control a man is to overstimulate him. Take his natural drive. Twist it into obsession. Then sell it back to him through screens. Why do you think you feel tired all the time? Why do you think your dreams don't excite you anymore? Why does every path feel flat, boring, or out of reach? Because you've been drained from the inside. That fire, the one you used to feel in your chest when you were a child. It's been traded for cheap pleasure. You've been taught to fear the very energy that could rebuild your soul. But here's the secret. That urge you feel. That pressure inside your body. It is not your weakness. It is your unused power. And if you can hold it, if you can sit in the burn without running, you will discover a version of yourself that no screen can simulate. They want you ejaculating. They don't want you elevating. They want you clicking. They don't want you creating. They want you chasing. Because the moment you retain, the moment you transmute, you become dangerous. Not violent. Not cruel. But powerful in the way that can't be bought or sold. You become magnetic. clear, creative, alive. So here's the truth. Lust is not the problem. Your relationship to lust is. You can't run from it. You can't escape it. You can only transform it. And to do that, you must first see how you've been programmed to waste your birthright. You must realize that every pixel you chased, every app you swiped, every secret release, wasn't lust at all. It was your soul, begging you to remember what you truly are. You think sexual energy is just about sex. Just a craving. A reaction. A tension in your body. But you've only seen its shadow. Not its source. What you feel between your legs is just the tip of something cosmic. Sexual energy is life force. It's the energy that made galaxies spin. The energy that carved rivers. The energy that brought your body into this world from two merging cells. You are not just filled with this energy. You are this energy. Carl Jung didn't call it sex drive. He called it libido, not in the Freudian sense of dirty thoughts or taboo urges, but as the psychic energy behind all desire. Every time you want something, to build, to touch, to speak, to sing, it is libido at work. Desire isn't weakness. It's the fuel of transformation. But when you narrow this power only to physical release, you rob it of its sacred direction. This energy is electric, magnetic, divine. It can create a child. It can also create a symphony, a philosophy, a revolution. It's what made Da Vinci paint, what moved Tesla to invent, what pulled Rumi into ecstasy. And when it rises, truly rises, it does not make you lustful. It makes you alive. But here's the paradox. The less you chase pleasure, the more powerful your energy becomes. When you don't waste it, it compounds. When you hold it, it builds pressure. And with pressure comes vision. In Eastern traditions, they call it Kundalini. A serpent coiled at the base of your spine, asleep. Every time you waste your energy on empty pleasure, the serpent sleeps. But when you master retention, when you transmute rather than release, she begins to rise. Up your spine. Through your chakras. Awakening each level of your consciousness like a ladder to the divine. And when it reaches your crown, you don't become aroused. You become illuminated. You don't need more lust. You need more alignment. Because real sexual energy has nothing to do with lustful thoughts. It's about how deeply you're connected to your own soul. It's not how often you release. It's how much of your energy you can hold in sacred stillness. Every time you resist the urge, you're not repressing anything. You're refining something. You're forging clarity. Sharpening will. Calling your power back from every woman, every screen, every fantasy that ever owned you. You are not broken. You are overloaded with untamed power. And until you learn what this energy really is, it will haunt you, control you, bleed you. But once you remember it, once you own it, you will stop running from it, and begin to rise with it. They told you sex was sacred, but only if done the right way, the right time, with the right person, under the right roof. And if you failed, you were guilty, dirty, sinful. You've spent your life caught between two gods, desire and discipline, each pulling your soul in opposite directions. Religion taught you to fear your body. Modernity taught you to abuse it. One says deny everything. The other says indulge everything. Neither teaches you how to integrate. This is not just culture. It is conditioning. A war waged inside your psyche since you were a child. You weren't taught to understand your sexual energy. You were taught to repress it. To push it down. To shove it into the basement of your being. To hide it even from yourself. But energy doesn't die. It just goes underground. And what lives underground in your psyche is called the shadow. Carl Jung called it the part of you that contains everything you reject. The parts you're ashamed of. Your rage. Your lust. Your taboo cravings. You didn't get rid of your desire. You just buried it. But buried things don't disappear. They fester. That's why you still relapse when you least expect it. That's why your fantasies get darker when you try to stay clean. That's why no matter how many days you go without releasing, it still owns you. Because what you repress controls you. Religious guilt didn't make you pure. It made you fragmented. You live two lives. The you who wants to be clean, and the you who keeps falling into temptation. But what if they're both you? What if the monster you keep trying to kill is actually the key to your liberation? You cannot transmute what you won't confront. You cannot integrate what you won't name. You must look into your shadow, not to destroy it, but to reclaim it. Because deep inside your darkest lust is your most hidden light. The fire of desire, twisted by shame, becomes compulsion. But that same fire, held with presence, becomes transformation. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to become whole. And that means owning your desire, without being ruled by it. It means blessing the fire, and learning to channel it. You are not fallen. You are fragmented. And shadow work is the art of putting the pieces back together. Your desire is not evil. Your repression is not virtue. Your work is integration. Because when you integrate your shadow, you reclaim your soul. Let's talk science. Because what you feel isn't just spiritual, it's biological. You've heard the term, semen retention. It sounds mystical, esoteric, maybe even extreme. But what if it's actually the most natural, most primal way to unlock your potential? Your semen is not just fluid. It's life itself. It contains over 200 proteins, zinc, magnesium, fructose, and powerful neurotransmitters. And more importantly, it contains information, blueprints, codes, signals. Your body pours everything into creating that seed. Vitamins, hormones, energy. When you release it compulsively, especially through porn or meaningless pleasure, you're draining your internal battery before it even has a chance to charge. Studies show a spike in testosterone after just 7 days of retention. Clarity improves. Drive intensifies. Voice deepens. Focus sharpens. Confidence grows. It's not placebo. It's biochemistry. Because your body thinks, if we're not wasting this energy, then we must be building something. And it starts to optimize you. Not just sexually, mentally, physically, spiritually. But there's more. Every time you resist that old urge to release, you're not just holding back. You're reprogramming your brain. Porn hijacks your dopamine system. It floods your brain with artificial highs, leaving you dull, disinterested, and disconnected from real life. But when you stop feeding that circuit, your dopamine resets. Your motivation returns. You stop chasing pixels and start pursuing purpose. You don't just become celibate. You become focused. You start writing again, building again, lifting again, becoming again. The greats knew it. They didn't waste their essence. They recycled it. That's transmutation. The alchemical process of turning sexual energy into spiritual gold. From lust to creation. From craving to clarity. From pressure to power. It's not suppression. It's redirection. You don't kill the fire. You forge it. In yogic traditions, this is the upward flow, called brahmacharya. Not just celibacy, but mastery of energy. In Taoist practice, it's the art of inner alchemy, of circulating life force through the microcosmic orbit, keeping it in the body, letting it rise, letting it heal, letting it reveal your highest self. You live in a world designed to scatter you, but retention pulls you back into center. You no longer leak energy to everything that doesn't matter. You start collecting it, storing it, until it radiates from your very presence. You become the kind of man who enters a room and shifts the air. Not because of muscles or money, but because you carry your fire within. You were never meant to waste your power. You were meant to rise with it. That is retention. That is transmutation. That is the start of your return. You think you're weak because you relapse, because you fall, because you feel too much. But what if the truth is darker? What if you're not weak? What if you're afraid of your own strength? That's the masculine wound. The wound you don't speak of. The one that lives under the surface of every distraction, addiction, and excuse. You don't fear your urges. You fear what happens if you master them. You fear your greatness. Maybe no one ever showed you how to hold masculine power. Maybe the men in your life weren't strong, they were absent. Or angry. Or afraid themselves. Maybe your father taught you silence. Or guilt. Or shame. Maybe the first time you tried to stand tall, someone made you feel small. Maybe they mocked your ambition, belittled your discipline, punished your fire. So you dimmed yourself. You shrank. You learned to survive by hiding. But now the cage is breaking. And every time you retain, every time you transmute, you feel the pressure return. And with it, the question. Can you hold your own power? Jung would call it individuation. The lifelong task of becoming whole. And the path to wholeness demands you confront the father inside you. The one you feared. The one you hated. The one you're becoming. Because your real enemy isn't lust. It's abandonment. You abandoned yourself. You stopped believing in your strength. You stopped trusting your instincts. You handed your will to comfort, distraction, sedation. But here's the truth. Your masculine essence is still intact. It's been buried beneath layers of societal shame and psychological bruising. True masculine power isn't domination. It's not aggression. It's not hardness. It's presence. It's direction. It's the ability to hold chaos without collapsing. It's the father you never had, but must now become. For yourself. You fear your own power because you never learned to respect it. Because no one modeled it. Because it was easier to stay passive, addicted, and numb. But that era ends now. Every drop of energy you retain is an invitation to reclaim yourself. Not as a boy seeking comfort, but as a man forging clarity. This is what they never taught you. That your discipline is sacred. That your pain is holy. That your restraint is not lack. It is leadership. You are not powerless. You are untrained. You are not broken. You are unclaimed. The man you are becoming has always lived inside the man you feared, and the fire you once used to destroy yourself, you will now use to become yourself. Something strange happens when you retain, when you transmute, when you stop giving your energy away to every flash of skin and seductive screen. Women start to notice. Not because you try. Not because you chase. But because your aura changes. Your gaze is different. Your presence is different. Your stillness carries gravity. You're no longer leaking energy. You're radiating it. And the feminine can feel it, instantly. Women are not drawn to your words, your money, or your looks as much as you've been told. What truly attracts the feminine is your energetic signature. When you are empty, when your seed is constantly spent, you feel needy, unstable, grasping. You seek validation from every curve, every compliment, every fleeting chance to feel desired. But when you hold your seed, when you hold yourself, you no longer need her. And paradoxically, that's when she feels safe to come closer. Because the feminine does not crave attention. She craves polarity. She longs to surrender into presence so strong, it can hold her storms without fear. That is the power of your retention. You're not resisting her. You're respecting yourself. You become a container, a force field, a well that doesn't dry up every time beauty passes by. She can feel it in your posture, in your tone, in your restraint. You don't flinch when she tests you. You don't collapse when she withdraws. You don't lose your center in the face of emotion. Because you have trained in silence, in heat, in hunger. And the feminine responds. Not always with romance, but always with recognition. She sees you now. Not the mask. Not the boy. But the man. Retention makes you magnetic. Not just sexually, but spiritually. Because the man who can master his body, can master the room, can master his mission, can hold the sacred space that allows a woman to be soft again. This is the gift of your discipline. Your radiance becomes a mirror for her own. And the dance between you no longer comes from lust, but from energetic reverence. The feminine does not just want your attention. She wants your depth. She wants to feel that you have somewhere you're going, even if she never joins you on the path. And now, you do. You've done something radical. You've taken the world's most primal energy and chosen not to release it, but to reconstruct yourself with it. This is where the real work begins. Because now that you've broken the chains of addiction and compulsive lust, you're left with something far more dangerous. Potential. What will you do with it? Sexual energy is creative energy. They are not different. It is the same current. That makes life. That also makes art. That makes children. That also makes empires. But most men never transmute it. They waste it. Bleed it out. Feel the hunger rise, then run to a screen to sedate it. But you sit with it. You channel it. You let it build pressure. Not to explode, but to forge. Every urge you resist becomes fuel. Every craving becomes concentration. Every wave of lust becomes a spark for your next move. You begin to create. Retention is not just about avoiding destruction. It's about stepping into construction. Your body doesn't know the difference between orgasmic release and project completion, between physical climax and creative climax. It just wants release. So give it a higher one. This is what monk mode truly means. You unplug from shallow pleasure to plug into deep purpose. And for the first time in your life, you feel like a man building something sacred. Not for applause. Not for women. But for your soul. You wake up early, not because a clock tells you, but because your vision won't let you sleep in. You lift. You read. You grind. You serve. You take the fire once used for self-destruction, and you build a temple with it. Retention isn't just helping you succeed. It's changing how you define success. It's no longer about validation. It's about contribution. You become less interested in chasing dopamine, and more obsessed with chasing destiny. You begin to understand what your ancestors meant when they spoke of honor, of duty, of legacy. Because you feel it now. In your spine. In your blood. In your seed. You are no longer just surviving. You are no longer just abstaining. You are creating. And creation is sacred. It is divine. It is the highest act of a masculine soul at peace with his inner fire. Lust has been your battlefield. Your torment. Your addiction. Your shame. You've tried to suppress it. Ignore it. Run from it. Fight it. But now, you are ready to do what very few men ever dare. You are ready to transcend it. To look lust in the eyes and say, I will not banish you. I will elevate you. This is alchemy. The world told you lust was sin. Religion told you to feel guilty. Society told you to indulge. But your soul, your ancient warrior soul, knows that lust is raw power. It is the creative current of the cosmos, bottled inside your flesh. You do not need to kill it. You need to purify it. This is not repression. It's refinement. Not denial. Direction. Not abstinence. Ascension. The lust you feel isn't just for bodies. It's for union. For expansion. For the divine. You long not just to penetrate a woman, but to penetrate truth. To merge with beauty, God, meaning, purpose, through the vessel of desire. The ancient mystics called it Kundalini, the coiled serpent of energy sleeping at the base of your spine. Waiting. Testing. Burning. And now, you are awakening her. Every moment you transmute instead of release, she rises. Every time you meditate instead of masturbate, she climbs. Every time you worship the feminine instead of objectifying her, she unfolds. And you become more than a man. You become a temple. This is the final truth no one tells you. Lust is not your enemy. It's your initiation. When you were addicted to porn, you were not broken. You were spiritually starving. You wanted the divine. But you settled for pixels. Now you want real union, real depth, real power. And lust, in its highest form, offers it all. But only if you can withstand the heat. Because lust will burn you if you are weak. But if you are strong, it will forge you into gold. Let yourself burn. Let yourself rise. Let yourself become the man who no longer runs from desire, but channels it into divine presence. Because when you alchemize lust into love, desire into devotion, flesh into fire, you no longer just live. You awaken. You have become the sacred flame, not consumed by lust, but lit by it, guided by it, transformed through it. This is the alchemy of lust. You did not choose the easy path. You chose the fire. You chose to sit with your hunger, to confront your shadows, to break generational cycles that fed off your ignorance. You chose not to sedate yourself with pleasure, but to sacralize your pain, and in doing so, you became the rarest kind of man, the man who no longer fears lust, the man who no longer leaks his energy into the abyss, the man who no longer begs the world for validation. You became a furnace of transmutation, and now, you burn with purpose. This is the journey few ever take, because it requires everything. It demands your body, your mind, your soul. It asks you to master your flesh, so your soul can finally speak. And now it speaks clearly. In your silence there is strength. In your eyes there is fire. In your breath there is direction. You are no longer chasing. You are becoming. You are the man who walks without distraction, the man who builds with his sweat, who speaks with intention, who loves without addiction, who touches the world without losing himself. You are the man who took lust, the most primal fire, and turned it into divine fuel. This is the sacred masculine, not the loudest voice in the room, not the richest, not the most followed, but the most grounded, the most aligned, the most dangerous, because he is no longer controlled by his lower nature. This is not the end. It is the beginning. Your life from here will be different. Women will feel you. Money will respect you. Purpose will guide you. But above all, you will respect yourself. Because you've earned it. You've done what few men dare. You've alchemized lust. You've built discipline. You've discovered your soul beneath the noise. You have become a living flame. Not burned out, but illuminated. And now, the world will see the light.